Simone Biles making a conscious decision not to take part in any more team competition in the gymnastics games. Gymnastics superstar withdrew from the Olympics all-around competition as she focuses on her mental health. She posted on social media she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. That weight becoming too heavy after vaulting during team finals when she lost herself in midair and completed 1.5 twists instead of 2.5.
Wow. And that was not what was planned.
I just felt like it would be a little bit better to take a back seat, work on my mindfulness, and I knew that the girls would do an absolutely great job, and I didn't want to risk the team a medal for kind of my screw-ups because they've worked way too hard for that.
Putting the team first. Jade Carey, who finished 9th in qualifying, will replace Biles in the competition Thursday. Joining me on the morning show to talk about the mental stress that athletes face is psychologist Dr. Mick Franco with Baptist Health. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have worked with 8 college national championship teams and helped athletes deal with pressure. While we can't talk specifically about Simone Biles and the pressures she faces, I assume it's fair to say that these athletes face enormous physical, emotional, and mental pressure, though they often may not show it.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things we need to discuss is that what we saw yesterday was, for all intents and purposes, a gold medal performance in self-esteem by Simone Biles. When you think about self-esteem, for many young athletes, their self-esteem becomes contingent on their performance in any athletic forum. That's called a condition of worth, and it leads to big-time trouble. The more talented you are when you're young, the more rewards you get from being seen as a great athlete. But as you continue to excel and you continue to graduate into higher levels of competition, the ratio of success to failure changes. And to the extent that you believe that your worth is only as, let's just say, as valuable to you as your latest performance, then you put yourself in a real precarious situation. Yesterday, what we saw was a gold medal winning performance in self-esteem by a young athlete that serves as a tremendous role model to all of us, not just athletes.
Yeah, and in addition, there's a lot of pressure to bear during these Olympics that is not routine. COVID, no family and friends to be there for support because of COVID. Does that add to that stress?
Absolutely. Every athlete has to deal with the fact that any competition is an event that they have to respond to and that they want an outcome. Every single event is like a puzzle that they need to solve, and each puzzle has like a magnetic field that can draw you in. The magnetic field that can draw someone like Simone in is the magnetic field of the expectations she places on herself, expectations that she has that she needs to please other people, a country that is struggling with COVID. Once you get caught up in that magnetic field, solving the puzzle becomes that much more difficult. That's why she demonstrated the self-awareness that comes with recognizing she was not up to this challenge. She then had the self-compassion that says, if I truly care about myself, I need to do what's right for me. And then she had to show self-restraint from making her body do something that she didn't want her body to do, something that's critically important given her history.
Let's expand on that a bit more, because it specifically relates to what Simone Biles did. She publicly said, I'm going to back down, do what's best for the team, and focus on my mental health. That takes a lot of courage, perhaps more than competing in the games itself. And that sends a very powerful message.
And it's interesting because the word courage actually means to be seen. So what she did was expose herself to be seen as a very courageous young woman. And I'm just thinking about the impact that this has literally to every little girl out there, every woman out there, and for all intents and purposes, anybody who has any investment in what it means to truly be happy and healthy. She demonstrated that if you truly want to be happy and healthy, there comes a price, and she was willing to pay that price. So again, what we saw yesterday was a gold medal performance in self-esteem.
Dare I say that fame is often fleeting? The message that she
Absolutely.
sent out yesterday will be long-lasting.
Absolutely, and heavy hangs the head that wears the crown. And sometimes you've got to take the crown off your head, or else you're going to end up hurting your neck. So in the end, we need to remember this is a very, very dangerous sport. And just because they make it look easy does not mean that it's not a sport that is incredibly dangerous. I think about what would have happened if she would have gone out there and ended up hurting herself. So today we're talking about her being injured, what it would have been for the score that would have come with her having gotten injured. We would be talking about, you know what, given her experience, she should have known not to do that. So these are the challenges that these athletes face. They're just in a very tough double bind. I just think that she made the decision that, again, speaks to high self-esteem, something she's had to work on given what she's had to experience.
It shows, despite her young age, she knew what to do. Dr. Franco, thank you. Appreciate you.